Hey, welcome back to SuzieVision. I know, long time no see. Now, last time we were talking about travel day, and I believe I left you when we were hiring the car and heading to Port Orleans Riverside. So let's pick up the story of our Disney trip. So basically, we headed over to Port Orleans Riverside by car. We get to Port Orleans, and I have mentioned before that my dad was using a wheelchair for some of the trip. So as a result, we had certain room requirements. And in fact, when we had landed at the airport at MCO, we almost straight away, we knew we'd got our room assignment because we'd done the online check-in in advance. And we had requested a ground floor room, not an accessible room because he doesn't need to be able to use the wheelchair in the room. We just needed to have space in the room to store the wheelchair, and it folds up. So I looked up where the room was, and if for those who are not familiar with Port Orleans Riverside, there are two different types of room location. There is the Alligator Bayou, and then there is the mansions. So we'd been expecting to be in the mansions because typically the mansion rooms sleep up to 4 people, whereas the Alligator Bayou rooms sleep up to 5 people. But I guess they thought they were upgrading us and gave us an Alligator Bayou room, and we were like, oh, that's really lovely, but we kind of wanted to be in the mansions. So when we arrived at the resort, I headed over to the check-in desk. I had probably about 30 to 45 minutes wait there. And then a lovely cast member helped me out. He listened to what our requirements were because, as I say, we had some specific actual requirements that we had to have, and then there were some desired ones. Now, one of the reasons we didn't want the Alligator Bayou rooms is because they have stairs if you're not on the ground floor, but they don't have any elevators, whereas the mansion rooms do have elevators. Don't ask me why it's designed like that. I have no idea, but that's the way it is. So he listened to our various needs, and he actually set us up with a corner room that was, I think, technically pool view, like it was facing the pool, but because you're on the ground floor, you don't really have a view per se, but it was super close to the pool. Ground floor, corner room, so we had loads of space for the wheelchair. The other thing I did while I was there was pick up our Magicbands. So because my sister was joining us later in the trip, we hadn't ordered a Magicband for her because you can only order them for whoever's in the room that you're staying in. And we, for the most part, actually already had Magicbands, although my parents hadn't used theirs for a while, so we weren't sure what the battery situation was going to be on them. So I already had my standard Magicband 2 that I'd got from the custom Magicband bit at the time. It was at Disney Studios, but there's one in Disney Springs as well. So I already had that one, but Magicband Plus had come out, and of course when you order it when you're staying in a room, you get $10 off, and I was like, well, this is going to save me and actually the whole family like $40 just ordering them in advance. So I went for this lovely rainbow Mickey design, and I think we got a grumpy one, we got a pink one with Cinderella Castle, and a mini one, something like that. And funnily enough, so each band comes with a standard USB charger, but no plug. So make sure you do bring some form of USB plug with you. A lot of the Disney rooms have them now, but not all of them. And this simply connects into the Magicband, and it clips in like that, and then it goes on charge. So it was something that we charged every night. To be honest, if you're not using any of the special features on it, you're literally just using it to get in the room, you do not need to charge it every night. for my sister and I, because we were very much actively seeking out the 50th statues, I was doing the what's it called, the bounty hunters game over at Galaxy's Edge while we were there. We did charge them every night because we wanted to make sure we had them, and we're in the habit of carrying a spare magic band around anyway with us, just in case. So yeah, we love the Magic Band Plus. I'll probably talk about that more in depth in a different video. But yeah, so we picked those up, and then we headed over to our room. Now I've already posted a room tour back in December of what our room looked like. So if you haven't already checked that out, I'm going to insert it right now. And if you have checked it out, feel free to skip a few minutes ahead. I'll put the timestamp down here so you know where to skip to. Hello, welcome to Port Orleans Riverside. Now I am doing this room tour at the end of our stay, so apologies for the room not being made up. But we had a very long day of travelling the day we arrived, and quite honestly we just all collapsed and that went to sleep. That was it. So let me show you around. So this is, it's actually a pool view room, but we booked a standard room in the mansion section. We are in the Acadia building. This is room 8072. It is a corner room, and let me turn the camera around and I will show you. So this is, as I say, the corner room. So because it's a corner room, it has two windows here. Although it's a pool view, because we're on the ground floor, I wouldn't have said you get much of a pool view, but it's super convenient for getting to the pool. Literally like a minute walk away at most from one of the smaller pools. So we've got the two queen size beds here. Each of them has separately controlled individual lights. There's also a light in the fan, and those are both separately controlled. And then we also have the main light here, which is controlled by a switch on the door. We had 2 seats, table. We then had coffee making facilities. Now, this basically produces hot water, so you can make tea or coffee. They provide both tea and coffee bags. Then over here, important thing, got 3 plugs if you exclude the one from the coffee, 2 standard USBs, 3 drawers. We then have the cooler right here. Oh, I'll take my apple slices. So they do technically describe that as a cooler, not a fridge. Over by the telephone, we've got 2 further plug sockets plus 2 USB ports. And here you can see that separate control for the fan light. Some gorgeous artwork on the walls. We've actually got the ferry boat over to the Magic Kingdom there, which is very cute. Got some hooks and a shelf. Little ottoman there. And what I would say is it would have been really helpful on this corner right here to have some hooks, because there was just dead space. Also underneath the beds, there's room to store suitcases. We didn't really have a chance to do that. Got hairdryer, there were loads of spare towels, we had plenty of towels in the room. Extra pillow and blanket, ironing board, plenty of hanging space. A little safe here, which was room enough for, I think, 2 computers, an iPad and important documents. And then have the bathroom. Now I have to say, I really liked the design of this. We didn't use the bath per se, but we did all use the shower. What I love about this is the curtain rail comes out, so you don't get the shower curtain sticking to you. It's got the current standard H2O plus refillable toiletries as well. Not the most powerful shower in the world, but did the job. And that is the shower curtain there. Very pretty. And then we've got the hello mirror there. Loads of mirrors. More me. More mirror. And we've got further plug sockets here. Now this is my favourite curtain in the whole room. I'll show you this quickly. Because it is Tiana and Naveen as a frog, which is really cute and fits with the theme of the resort. We did have air conditioning control here, air conditioning unit over there. Did not turn off in the middle of the night, only turned off when it hit the required temperature. And that was about it. So that was our room at Port Orleans Riverside. So we absolutely loved our stay at Port Orleans Riverside. I loved the quick service that was there. It had a great variety of food. I loved the shop that was there as well. It's known as being like the biggest Disney resort, so I was a bit nervous as to like how big it would feel in terms of getting from A to B. But because of the way the mansions were located, you basically had to cross a bridge, go past the main pool, cross another bridge, and then you were at the main hub with the reception desk, quick service, and everything. And when we parked our car, took 30 seconds to get to the room from our car, maybe. Like, it was super, super close. So that was all amazing, and I would 100% stay there again. No question in my mind. I absolutely loved that resort. So that first night, we had dinner at the quick service because, quite frankly, we were absolutely shattered. And to be honest, it was one of those things where we were like, I'm hungry, I need to eat something, but I'm also not really hungry. So like, I ordered a kid's meal, and I kid you not, I barely even had half of it. Like, we were just so out of it. We got our refillable mugs. Now, I do want to tell you something about the refillable mugs, especially if you're British and you go for longer trips. So those refillable mugs, when they activate them, whatever they tell you about it being length of stay, etc., those mugs are activated for 14 days. If your trip, that you're staying at Disney Resort, and it doesn't matter if you're split staying or not, if your trip is longer than 14 days, when you hit that 14-day mark, you can take your receipt and your mug to any of the hotel quick service locations, and they will reactivate your mug for you. Because it's length of stay, right? So amazing. I triple checked this with the official Disney channels. This is an official thing that they will do that. But obviously it tends to only apply to people there that are on longer stays, because everyone else is there for less than 14 days, so they don't really have to worry about it. And it was so quick and easy to do. Like, we were like, this is brilliant. And they didn't actually mind either that we were doing like 2 nights at Port Orleans, then the Disney cruise, and then the rest of our trip at Old Key West and Grand Floridian. The fact that we were on Disney cruise in the middle of it, they weren't bothered about. And in fact, we were able to use our mugs, you know, like unofficially as refillable mugs on the cruise ship, which made it a lot easier than the tiny little cups that they give you, because they aren't big enough. It's great. It avoids wastage, but like, they are the world's like tiniest little cups. So that was our first night. So the next day we were just looking for a chill day. We had some shopping to do around Orlando. So first thing in the morning, we hopped in the car, we headed to Starbucks for breakfast. We did our shopping bits, and then we headed back to the pool that we were right next to, which was one of the quiet pools, and it was lovely. Like, just chilling for the afternoon by that pool was blissful. We then headed over to Disney Springs. No, we didn't head over to Disney Springs. Oh my god, I can't even remember. We actually headed over to Port Orleans French Quarter. So we, because of the wheelchair and everything, we got in the car, drove over there. The reason being is we wanted to try the beignets, and my goodness, was it worth it? They were so so good. I was also meeting up with a friend. We were doing an exchange of gifts type thing. And then we hopped on the boat and headed over to Disney Springs. Now, wheelchair accessibility and the boat for Disney Springs. It was an interesting time. The boat itself is accessible. They put down a ramp, you roll up into the boat, and they have seats that pull up that you can then slot the wheelchair into. So that part of it was absolutely fine. The part of it that was somewhat less accessible, particularly if you're in a manual chair, is that the way you access the boat at French Quarter is you go down a slope, but it's the same down as up. So like when you get back from Disney Springs, if there's someone coming the other way, you're kind of like clashing as to who can like get through the pathway, which isn't ideal. If there's only one wheelchair, absolutely fine, no problem. But as I say, if you've got one going one way and one going the other way, bit of a nightmare. Also, no one wants to push a wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, uphill. Like in Florida, it is sweaty, it is stressful. So it's great that there is a slope, but it's something that's worth being aware of because it's not the easiest thing to push the wheelchair up. In fact, as I say, my dad can do some steps, and he ended up getting out of the wheelchair and walking up the slope because it was that hard to push the wheelchair up. So at Disney Springs, the way the boat dock works is there are three, along the pier heading to the boat, there are 3 lanes. The middle lane is everyone exiting the boat, and it is uphill. Ugh, again, whatever. So then the outer lanes are, one is for everyone heading to, now I think it was Old Key West and Saratoga, and the other lane is everyone heading to Port Orleans French Quarter or Port Orleans Riverside. Here's where the problem comes, because some of the boats go to both resorts and some of the boats go to one resort, depending on how busy things are. Now, to give you some context for how busy it was that night, we were in an hour-long line to get back on the boat to get back to our resort at the end of the night. So it was kind of long. That was just for the Port Orleans resorts. Funnily enough, the Old Key West and Saratoga resorts, there was like no line at all. So had we been in that one, we'd have been on the boat within like 15 to 20 minutes. But on the Port Orleans side, it was longer. So what they do is, because it is a single file line and they have boats heading individually to the separate resorts, they start pulling people out of the line. So, you know, typically what you would do is if the boat pulls in for French Quarter and you're going to Riverside, you stand to one side and you let everyone that's going to French Quarter through until you get a wheelchair involved. Why? Because either the wheelchair can't get past everyone or everyone can't get past the wheelchair. So it causes blockage in the system. So it was less than ideal because of the way the queues were set up. If every boat was going to both French Quarter and Riverside, wouldn't have been a problem. But when you split the boats up, it does cause a little bit of chaos at the dock. So something worth being aware of. So that night for dinner, we headed to Boathouse. My parents were super excited to go to Boathouse because they love the Boathouse. Like, they love the food there, they love the ambience there, and I had never been before, so I'd been watching like everyone's videos of people going to the Boathouse and being like, this food looks amazing. Everyone says how amazing the food is. I was excited to go, and we booked a reservation, and we get there and they said, do you want to sit inside or outside? And because we were still getting used to the temperature, I just kind of went, oh, inside, without really thinking about it. And here was the first of my problems, because the inside of that restaurant is like being in a warehouse. It's super echoey. And for me, being neurodiverse and particularly being sound sensitive, I was getting very stressed out very quickly. Not a problem for the rest of my family, but it was becoming a huge problem for me, particularly being jet lagged as well. The tiredness was kicking in, and I was just like, I am freaking out and I am not okay. So I don't think we'd even got to the appetizers coming out, and I was like on edge, like totally on edge. And let me pause that for a second while I show you what I did. All right, I'm back. So I have earplugs for exactly this type of situation. So the earplugs I use, they are made by a company called Loop, and they look kind of like this here. So they're made up of a loop, and they literally sit in your ear just like that. And I spent the entire meal with my earplugs in because it was so loud. And even then, I was feeling super, super stressed out. On top of that, and this is totally a me thing. The food was delicious. Get rid of that. But I had ordered the fish tacos, which was a massive portion, by the way. Retrospectively, I should have just ordered an appetizer and that been it. But I ordered the fish tacos, and I have often a very low tolerance for spice, and I hadn't quite anticipated that the fish tacos would be spicy, which for me they were. So I ended up kind of having, I think out of 3 tacos, like 1.5 of them, and I was like, I'm done. And my mum, bless her, is going, do you want to order anything else? And the server's going, do you want to order anything else? I was like, no, honestly, because like I'm full anyway and I'm feeling stressed out, so it's not going to make any difference. And so retrospectively, if I was to go back, and they asked me that same question, do you want to sit inside or outside? I would sit outside. And just for some context, again, there are very few restaurants where I have this problem. I have this problem at one Costa that's local to me, because again, it's in a giant warehouse. And then I had this problem at the Boathouse. But pretty much everywhere else we ate the entire trip, I did not have the same problem. So if you are sound sensitive, or you're traveling with anyone that's sensitive to noises like that, it's just something worth being aware of, that the inside of the Boathouse can feel super intense and super crazy. But yeah, food, apart from the fact I ordered something too spicy, was very delicious. So there you go. The following day, we were getting ready for our cruise. We were very excited to go on the Disney Wish. So this was where what Disney say and what Disney do, 2 totally different things. So I had in advance I checked about the refillable mugs that I'd already talked about, and I also checked whether Disney would be able to hold and transfer our luggage from Port Orleans to Old Key West, because essentially because we had been traveling in premium economy, we had 2 bags each, and we didn't need 2 bags each for the cruise. We only really needed like 1 bag each. So what we were trying to find out is, could we leave 3 of those bags with Disney and then transfer them to Old Key West? Because I knew if we were going straight to Old Key West, they would transfer them. So I contacted Disney, I reached out to them. They reached out to the various hotels, and they said, no, we can't do it. We don't have the storage space for that. Absolutely not. So we were like, okay, we're just going to have to take them on the cruise. It's a bit of a pain, but whatever. We get to Old Key West, and I thought, do you know what? Why don't we just check again, just to see? Because we'd watched loads of videos where people had done something similar. And sure enough, as soon as we called up Bell Services and said, would you be able to do this? They were like, absolutely, no problem. What hotel are you going to? Literally, they could not do enough to help us. And we were just like, this is confusing, Disney. Like, we love that you do it, but could you kind of have told us that we did it, so it just helped with the planning a little bit more? So yeah, so Disney will often do that, but it's not guaranteed. So check on arrival at your first hotel whether they are able to accommodate you being able to do that. So Bell Services collected half our luggage. We took the rest of it to our vehicle and down we went to Port Canaveral to board the Disney Wish. And with that, I shall end this video. If you liked it and you want to see more of our Disney trip from back in October, please give us a like and hit the subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!